object definitions. So that's where those are found. And this is basically all objects across the board. So not only obviously within recruiting, but also Employee Central, all of that information. These are kind of the centralized objects that you can use across all of SuccessFactors. But to search on those specific fields, or for that candidate profile extension, we're going to go object definition here, and then candidate profile extension. And essentially, this is what it sounds like. It's an extension of the candidate profile. It's just additional fields that are on the profile itself. So if we scroll down, we can actually see where and how some of my additional fields are populating here. So we have grad year, major, school, GPA, area of interest, all of those. If you need to make an edit to this and add a new field, just take action, make correction. And then you're just going to scroll down here and add in that new field. For any of those new custom fields, it's always going to add the cust in front, so you can just start typing. We'll just do, how about favorite color? And you can see that it adds in the cust in front. I would encourage you to add in as many custom fields that are, I guess that makes sense for maybe any of those use cases. Typically, I'll use the use case of university hiring and college career fair hiring. So that's why you'll see a lot of those GPA, school, major, grad year, really ones that really help kind of sell on kind of what that use case is. So I would definitely play around with this a little bit further and just get as many fields that make sense into your demo environment. So we've added the field here. Now we need to determine what type of field it is. So if we want a free text field, we're just going to make it a string. If it was a number field, we would hit number. There are only certain fields that are supported, which you can see here. If we needed a checkbox, we could hit that as Boolean. If we wanted a pick list, which is typically a pretty good example that we can go through, we're going to select pick list here. And then in the details section is where we're identifying what specific pick list that is. Based off of Pick List Center, each pick list has a code. So we're going through and identifying what that pick list code is under valid values source. We'll have to revert back to Pick List Center to grab one. So let's actually just flip this to string for now. Otherwise, it's going to give us an error message. Additionally, in here, you can give it a label. So this one is, let's not use favorite color. That's a bad example. Let's just go department. And let's just switch this to department. And again, we're just temporarily making it a string field. If you make it a pick list and don't assign a pick list code, then it's going to throw an error at you. So for right now, we'll just make it as a string field, and we're going to go ahead and click save. So now we need to find the actual pick list code. So let's go to Pick List Center. Any questions up to this point on creating new fields or anything? If not, you can create a net new pick list if you need to. So say it was a very specific field that probably doesn't already have a pick list created from the customer. I think maybe major or grad year or something along those lines. You could go through and create a net new pick list. If we already had a pick list created, so maybe department is very similar to job function. This represents the values that we would want in here, IT, admin, engineering, etc. We would just grab this specific pick list code. So I'm just going to save that for now. But if not, again, you could create a net new pick list. You're going to give it a code and a name. We'll just go test. Status active, effective start date. Typically, I've seen this as a best practice to do, if it's a net new pick list, to do 01/01/1900, just to ensure that everything is covered within the pick list and there's no additional I guess, fields that would be associated to this that would fall out of that range. So a lot of times I'll see the effective start date for the pick list set at that. You do have the ability to change the display order. So if you needed a specific value maybe displayed first, you could select the custom option. Otherwise, it's set as alphabetic. It doesn't like that value for some reason. Let's just go ahead and do start date there. Oh, and that one already exists, of course. All right, so we've created the pick list, and now if we needed a specific pick list value, we're going to go through and create the actual value. So engineering for one. Typically, you just have to provide it with a code and a label. There should be no additional values that you need to produce there. And then let's just do one more example. And I think that should give you guys an idea of how to create pick lists if you've never created one. All right, now that we've created a pick list, again, we can use this one. Let's just use this one as an example. So I'm just copying that code. And now we're going to jump back over to configure object definitions. We're going to search for object definition, candidate profile extension. And we are going to find our field, which we have as department. We're going to flip this over to a pick list. And now we're just going to pop in the code, the pick list code, into the valid values source. We'll save it. And that field has been created on the candidate profile selection or extension, and now is available for us to add as a field onto our data capture forms. Whenever you're working with MDF, it's typically recommended to run an OData refresh just to ensure that the field is now available. So it's just OData is what I type in, OData refresh and export, and we'll just refresh. Now we'll jump back out to Career Site Builder. And we will go to our data capture form. Let's do this one as an example since we were looking at that. So we can see again, these are all the fields that are on this data capture form. Let's go ahead and hit add, and we can see now that department is in here. So we'll hit department, we'll close, we'll move this one up. We have it here. If we needed to change the name of it, maybe, what is your preferred area of interest? We can make it required. Essentially, if we don't make it required, then we may have some candidates who are filling out that information and some who are not. So depending on the field, if you think that's a very valuable field that you'll be, creating searches off of and creating talent pools off of, would recommend making that a required field, just making sure that you don't have, 5 custom fields or more than 5 custom fields on your data capture forms. If you needed to see what specific pick list values are in here, you can see that here. If you say add, we only added 2 here, and now later on, we're going to add in maybe 4 or 5 more. You can go to Pick List Center, you could add in those values, and what you may need to do is just run that refresh here in addition to that OData refresh, and then those values should add in. Let's go ahead and save this one. And we can just refresh this. And now we can see that our department, or how we labeled it as what is your preferred area of interest, is now in here. So again, definitely would recommend using custom fields to just kind of better exemplify what options customers have on the data capture form, and really kind of showcasing the different scenarios where they could use a lot of these different custom fields to later on kind of build off those candidate searches and talent pools, which is great information for the candidates to have on their profile extensions that you can then use later on to market job opportunities.